You can achieve almost anything by learning how to mitigate the downside. Now, what do I mean? Think about any goal you have, whether it's as simple as running, I don't know, a 5K or going to Mars. You're going to have obstacles that you're going to need to overcome. And in this video, I'm going to give you a really simple, straightforward, and powerful model that you can use to achieve anything and just obliterate the obstacles that come in your way. Now, there is a disclaimer. I am assuming that one, you have a very clear goal, and hopefully everybody that's on this channel and watches this channel understands the importance of that. And two, you've got a great plan. Now, if you want to learn how to plan effectively, you can check out my PI Planning for Beginners series after this video. But let's get started now, because understand this, having a plan is never enough. Because once you have a good, achievable plan in place with an inspiring goal, these are the first two steps that you've got to have in place to ensure that you can have a stress-free and fun and exciting execution for your professional or your personal goals. Now, one of the main things that you need to be able to do is to defend that goal from the inevitable challenges that are going to arise. In fact, think about it. The bigger the goal, like going to Mars rather than the 5K marathon as an example, the bigger the challenges that we're going to need to overcome. The more organized we're going to need to be, and the more effective we're going to need to be in identifying the challenges and the obstacles that can occur, ideally before they do occur. And so our ability to be able to respond to these risks before they become actualized into obstacles or issues is going to be key. But the principle remains exactly the same. Step one, we clarify the goal. Step two, we have a great plan in place. And step three, we proactively identify the risks to the achievement of those goals, and we're going to look at how we can mitigate those. Now, the better we become at this, the better we become at the game of life. Okay, so let's have a look at the 6 steps that we have to be able to overcome our challenges, mitigate our risks, and achieve those goals. So step number 1 is one of the most important, and that is becoming really clear on exactly what is the risk that could manifest, that could impact your goal. We need to write it down really clearly, have a clear and unambiguous risk statement outlining what that actually is. Number 2, we need to understand, now we understand what the risk is, we need to understand what is the probability, what is the likelihood of that occurring. Okay, so we need to have a think about how likely is it that that risk is going to occur, and should that occur, how is that going to impact our ability to achieve our goals? Be specific. What is the impact on the timelines? What is the impact on the cost? What is the impact on the outcome that you're trying to achieve? Be as specific as you possibly can. Then we take the probability and we take the impact, and from that we calculate our rating. Okay, and I'm going to show you how we do that in just a few minutes. Once we've calculated our probability rating, that's the overall likelihood of and the impact of that occurring, we then need to work out what is our response going to be. How are we going to deal with this risk or issue, and what is our response going to be? And I'm going to talk you through how we're going to do that in an example in just a moment. And then finally, we need to have a ritual. What do I mean by that? This is one of the most important things. In addition to the clarity, I would say having that clear ritual is essential, and it's one of the most important things that is frequently left off. If you're responsible for a team, or if you're responsible for a program, one of the most important things you need to be doing is, as soon as you get in the morning, You want to have a look and you see what are the risks that I need to mitigate, what are the issues that I need to solve. You should have an amazing plan already, something that makes sense. And now once you have that in place, your biggest responsibility is to identify those risks and manage those issues as and when they arrive. So, okay, so these are the 6 steps. Let's jump in and let's have a look at a quick example. Okay, so we're going to go through a couple of quick examples. One is a personal example and one is a professional example. So the personal example is a real world example from my own life. And a couple of years ago, I've got 3 kids and I was trying to work out what is the best way to teach them about the importance of coaching and putting goals out there and, put something together that's a little bit fun as well. And so I thought, you know what, let's do ice skating because there's enough kind of danger over there and also there's enough challenge. So that's what I decided. And so, yeah, but I'm now 53 at that time, probably around about 50. And everyone's like, are you crazy? You're going to get injured and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, no, because I have mitigated the risk. So how did I do that? Let's have a look. Take this as an example. So this is what the goal was. I want to learn how to skate to a reasonable level. And I think this was a level 4 in the ice skating kind of ratings that they've got within 3 months. But I've never ice skated before. And I have a preference not to break any bones. Okay. And so if you look on the screen, what you will see is the goal, the description. And in this example, I'm just going to say I'm checking the risks every week, okay? So when we start out, I identify 2 key risks. What are the 2 key risks in achieving the goal? The first one is I might fall down and injure myself, and it's going to impact my health quite badly, okay? So the impact is 5 and probability is 4, okay? So don't want to fall down, don't want to injure myself. So that gave me an overall rating of 20. So now when we're looking at impact, what you start off with, you've got the numbers starting from 0, so there's no impact, all the way up to 5, which is very high. So if you've got no impact for a risk, then obviously then you don't care that much about it, okay? So you can just accept that risk and let it happen. Equally, the same with probability as well, right? You've got 0, which is it's not going to happen. So, I mean, you might have considered something. You might think, look, is that a risk? And you may go and you might say, well, there's not really a risk of that, Or it's so negligible. Because if you go out on the road, just walking down the road, then everything is a risk, right? If you think of it from that perspective, right? So the probability starts with a 0 scale and up to a 5, which is a very high scale. So you've got your impact and then you've got your rating. By multiplying them together, you end up with your overall risk rating. So let's have a look. I might fall down and injure myself. I said the impact of that would be pretty high, so that's a 5. The probability of it is a 4. Okay, this is as soon as I've made that decision, I've made no mitigation, taken no mitigatory steps, and that's the baseline, if you like. Okay, what's the other risk? Well, the other risk is I might not be motivated enough to complete this goal and remain consistent. Okay. So that is pretty high. So I've got an impact. Well, the goal's not going to get achieved if I'm not motivated to do that. And the probability is high of that as well. Okay? Because I'm so busy, I've got so many other things to do. The chance of that happening very low. Okay. So now this gives us an overall risk rating of 45. Now, if you look on the screen, you can see I've got this out in a spreadsheet. I'll put a link in the description below so you can pick that up. And you can just use that. Don't worry about attribution or anything. You can just use it. Okay. And what that looks like on the next page is you can see. Just one thing I forgot. The frequency. Identify the frequency. Depending upon how important the goal is, you're going to want to have an appropriate frequency depending upon how important that goal actually is. Okay. If it's really important, you want to be looking at, you might not measure it every day, but you want to be looking at your mitigatory actions every day, okay? So for this, I said, okay, just say weekly as an example. And if we look at that, I said, okay, what is the overall personal risk profile? So that's 45. So that's pretty high, okay? So, right, now, next question is, what could I do? Well, what kind of actions can I take, right? And that comes to, if you look at the risk management tips that over here that we've already covered, we've talked about clarity, probability, impact, rating, response, okay? So we've got really two responses. We can either accept the risk or we can mitigate it effectively. Now, if you look in Scaled Agile, you've got, you've got a roam. You can roam your risks, which means you've resolved the risk during the planning, you've owned it, you've accepted it, you've mitigated it. But I find that a little bit over. And from my perspective, I just find it useful to say, okay, you either accept it or you mitigate it. And when you do mitigation, you just do whatever action you need to get the job done. So just try to simplify things. So what is the response then? So the first response is I made a decision to skate slowly. So if I said, okay, so then what's that going to do now to my overall impact? Well, if I'm skating slowly, and it's just a decision, right? That impact of that is going to drop down. Let's just say that drops down to a 3, because if I fall, I'll probably be okay. And the probability of that, let's just say, drops down as well. So now I've dropped my overall risk profile to 34. Okay, so let's just say 34, decision to skate slowly. Okay, right, so we got that now. Okay, then I was like, okay, so like I said, what about the next risk now? I might not be motivated now. Well, let's get all my kids involved. The chances of me not going, my kids involved, it's very low, trust me. I've got she was 6 at that time, she's not going to let me not go. It's like, you have to go. Don't care if it's Sunday morning. Get your fat butt out of bed, right? So definitely the impact of that, including my daughter and my children, is pretty high. So that's going to reduce now because I've taken a mitigatory action, and the probabilities now drop down quite a lot now as well. Let's just say, to make things interesting, let's just say it is now 21. Okay, so that drops down to 21. So get family involved. Get family involved. Okay. All right. Next, I'm like, okay, that's good. So you still got that. Still a bit of risk there. So I could still fall down and injure myself. So what do I do, and how do I help to make that even more? I know what I'll do is I'm going to sign up to some coaching lessons. So that's what I did. I took a bunch of coaching lessons. I signed up to a whole package deal. Again, probability drop down now of me falling down. That's dropped down a little bit. And the chances of me now, because I've got some real money behind that now, of me not doing that is dropped down. So that's 15. And that is sign up to coaching lessons. So I did that. And then I was like, okay, so that was like that. And then as you go through, when you're doing ice skating, they teach you, okay, if you fall, this is how you fall. So you fall kind of in a safe way, right? So I learned how to do that. And so that is going to drop the impact down as well, okay? So now I learn how to skate safely. Okay, so if you see now, you've got this situation. I know it's a personal kind of, maybe a little bit silly example, right? But actually, the principles and the ideas are exactly the same, right? So you will apply them in a professional setting as well. So if, for example, I've got a professional goal, if you like, a work goal, if you like project X needs to deliver outcome Y by deadline Z, and and that's what we want to do every week. We have a look at that. As I said, if you're looking for a work goal, I recommend you do it every day, especially if it's really important. If your sprint goal, you need to achieve that. You want to look at your risks, impediments, and issues every day. So, you've got this exactly the same principles through exactly the same idea. And you have a risk profile now for you achieving that. And obviously the idea is you want to burn that down. You want that to be as low as you possibly can. And so you're proactively managing that. Now, is it always going to go straight down? No, of course it's not, because sometimes things are going to happen, events are going to happen, that's going to spike it back up, right? But that's the point. You've now got a mechanism, you've now got a really powerful, simple, but powerful mechanism now to be able to manage your manage your risks, and the chances now of you achieving your plan, because you made sure that you had a realistic plan, is now really, really high. Okay, so check it out. There's a link in the description below. Try it out, see how you feel about it. I think it's going to really change the way, if you do it properly and you do it regularly, and you build in step number 6, which is that ritual. When are you going to do it? Is it before your daily stand-up? Is it the end of each day? You have a look and see what is the current risk profile? Is it the end of the week? Are you going to do it? Build that in as a ritual, and I think you're going to see really fantastic results. Okay, so hope you found that useful, and let me know how it goes in the comments below. Take care and see you later. Bye.